You're either on the bus or you're off the bus.
Welcome aboard. It's episode 17 of Ridin the Bus, the official Iowa Wild podcast presented by Explore Minnesota. Headed your way, Ben Gislason, voice of the Iowa Wild, joined by my co-host now of 17 episodes, Mr. Joey Goldstein, our head of marketing here with the Iowa Wild. And how about that? 17. We're knocking on the door of 20 here pretty soon.
Yeah, we're getting there. Next thing you
that?
know, it'll be 21 and then 22 and maybe even 23. But I like how we're kind of
nice
we're
counting.
Not, yeah,
Good.
Yeah, we practice
Good.
as we start. Our mic tests here.
We don't usually get to the 20s though. I didn't know you could count that.
Yeah, I can do that.
Very good.
I got some
UMass education.
I got some
Bang.
talent. No, I think what I like here is we're keeping people on their toes. It's like, when's the next episode gonna come out? When's the next episode gonna come out? Here it is, right in your face.
Bang.
Boom.
Yeah, here we are.
Early mid March, not early March, mid March. Yeah.
Apologies for any people that were wondering why has it been so long. I think we prefaced the season well enough.
Yeah, there's it
ebbs and flows, and it's mainly my fault. It really is not my choosing,
No.
but my fault because of the schedule and the fact that, especially, I think it's kind of amazing we're getting one done in March because I'm just kind of. We've just evaporated into thin air in March, really. We're here for the games this weekend or last weekend as this comes out, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, and I certainly don't think it's your fault. It's just the nature.
Thanks, pal.
Yeah, no,
Hey,
I got you. It's if it's your fault, I'll throw you under the bus. I don't think that it is. I just think it's just the
especially after the last episode.
Yeah, I just think it's just the nature of, like you said, it's the schedule, right? With travel and coming back, like the guys aren't practicing every day, like you would think that they are. There's days off incorporated, and if team's playing well, maybe coach decides, all right, we'll throw in an extra day off to get some extra rest, especially when you're in this point in the year where you're grinding. It's all these
and
games.
And rest is more important than practice.
These games
are
so intense right now, and they're way more physical than they were at the start of the season. So, like, rest is so important, and we're trying to take advantage of those days where we might be able to do that. So that's kind of why it's been pushed a little bit here and there, but certainly nothing that, like you said, it's out of our control. So
people are also going to think they must just do podcasts when the team's playing well. Had 2 in January.
Yeah.
February is the worst month
No.
of the season for the Wild, and we dissipate. And now we're back on a winning streak, 4 of 5, and here we are again.
No,
with an
and
episode.
like the plan was to do one in February because we said we want to stick to once a month, and we missed that. We missed, what was it, December, and we were like, we don't want to do that again.
And we did.
And then things changed. It's a lot trickier when the team's out of town, and we don't want to do this. We could have done it over Zoom, and we don't want to do that. It's better when we're all present in the same place, and so.
And I can reach out and touch your shoulder, just
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Episode 17. We have a great episode for you today, and one that, if you would have asked me last season if we would have had Marco Rossi on a podcast, the podcast, that's pretty good. Like, considering the name change from Rossi to Rossi and podcast to that's pretty good.
It's not bad.
The podcast.
It's okay.
That's a nice Freudian slip. The podcast, to finish my sentence, I would have said maybe not. He is such a different person this year, and in a lot of ways a different player. And not that, again, we talked about it when we chatted with him. I mean, he's the single-season rookie leading scorer.
For now.
Yeah, for that's a good point. Sammy Walker's coming close, although he's getting some notes against him because he can't contribute in the AHL right now in the NHL.
Yep.
But there's a different element to Marco's game, and there's certainly a different element to Marco in the locker room right now. The banter, we talk about his quick wit. We learned Marco Rossi the prankster, and we got some actual concrete evidence about that. It's a great episode, but some notes, some things to get to open our podcast as we always do. Joseph, I'll hand it to you for our preamble to these notes.
Our podcast presented to you by.
Start over again. You came in really soft. I need more. I need
Need
more.
more?
I need more bravado. Our podcast presented by. Come on.
Ridin the Bus, the official podcast of the Iowa Wild, is presented by Explore Minnesota. We love Explore Minnesota.
We do.
So nobody better to present this podcast to you. Before we get started, got some words on Explore Minnesota that I'm going to read hopefully well. Sometimes the magic of a moment is really hard to put into words, and vacation memories are known to expand with time. That's how a trip to Minnesota feels and how it leaves you. Memories that become part fact, part feeling, but every time 100% real. You knew that
I
one.
got these memorized. These make it on the broadcast too.
Plan your dream vacation at exploreminnesota.com today and make those memories last a lifetime.
You may be able to hear in the background of this whole podcast that includes the interview with Marco some cheering going on.
Yep.
State tournaments going on right now here at Wells Fargo Arena. Should give out a disclaimer to that so people don't just think we're adding in or any kind of cheering natively to our podcast.
Well, people are cheering for us.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what's happening. This is piping in through the arena. People are like watching basketball but listening to me and
Yeah, exactly. But no, the Explore Minnesota reads. I love reading them every game because as a native son of Minnesota, it makes me think, and I think about it, the off season, and not that I'm chomping at the bit for the off season because I'm so excited. It seems like this team's in a playoff spot right now, and it seems like they're there to stay. They're in a really good spot. I think that they've had their tank, they've had their free fall, and they've corrected now in just the nick of time. And so that to me puts them in a great spot. I mean, if my math's correct here, 8 points on the Wolves. Yes, Chicago has some games at hand, but if Iowa just manages to win more than they lose, not even win their way out, but win more than they lose the rest of the way in the remaining 15 games, they're in great shape.
And I think what works in Iowa's favor, and obviously it's the AHL. There's no such thing as an easy game. Nothing's set in stone. But there's the schedule is, you could say, favorable in our direction. We still have San Diego 4 times, which I'm pretty sure statistically is at the bottom of the league.
Yes.
And they seem to be shipping off a lot of their veteran guys to give them opportunities elsewhere. So
Grimaldi, he's now in Rockford, unfortunately.
That's a team they lose Dylan Sakura, but they get Grimaldi, right? So that's a team that's kind of trending the opposite direction. We've got Grand Rapids, who we've had their number most of the year. We got them 2 more times. We're getting Chicago again, who we've had some battles with. Obviously, they've been playing so much better than they were early in the season.
And there's also something to be said about a team. I think it's 4 in a row now. It's really hard to beat a team 5 times in a row.
Yeah.
And you could say the same about the Wild and the Griffins in their upcoming matches, but I do think that whenever you see a team that's strung together win after win after win after win against an opponent that you play 10 times a year, it's hard to do it again and again. So
we're going to get Milwaukee a couple more times. Yep. Those games have been battles. We played very well against Coachella. We're going to see them twice in their building. So certainly we're not going to win, go 15-0, maybe not go on a 15-game point streak or whatever, but there's it's like you said, it's tough to see this team falling out of the position that they're in right now, but anything can happen. There's still a lot of hockey left to be played.
But the table is set, and
Correct.
To your point, the only thing Iowa has going against them is they've played the most games of any team in the division. So you're looking, the Wolves got 3 games at hand. That's a little bit of that's the one thing that you kind of go, ooh, because those are 3 nights
and I do think
you don't have a hand in.
By the end of the month, everybody should be able to speak, because I think it's the last week of March. We don't have a game.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the catch-up week where everybody else is probably going to get caught up.
I think it's do we play Saturday or Sunday?
No, it's like the
Is it a full week?
The whole week we don't have a home game.
Gosh.
We might play the weekend leading into it, but
that sounds so nice.
It's like
nice.
It's like the last week and teams here are practicing, because we get player appearances and stuff going on that week. So the guys are around, but we don't have any games. So I would assume that's when everybody else is going to get caught up with those games in hand.
It makes sense because it's funny. I was talking to my wife about this. This season has felt like it's gone so much faster than last season's, and I think part of that is because from November, really. Kind of now it's starting to decline a little bit. From November into early March, it was 3-4 games a week.
It was nonstop.
Every week.
Yep.
Every week.
Yep.
So it makes sense why the Wild have played the most of, I think, any team. Well, Calgary's played 1 more, but 15 games remaining. That's the second fewest of any team in the league. So it makes sense why now it's going to stretch out a little bit. And I'd rather have it that way late in the year because we just talked about it with the rest, right?
Rest is so big.
Everybody's got something right now. The broadcasters are dealing with something right now this time of year. I mean,
he's grinding.
Everybody's got something
grinding.
that's wearing them down. I mean, it's that time of year where I think the more time you can get to rest or to spend a short amount of time on the ice going through just your systems and more of your functionality of the game, as opposed to going out there and blasting the guys like you do early in the season to get them in shape. There's a lot favoring Iowa this time of year, and it seems very, very likely that they're going to make their second ever postseason appearance. I feel very confident about it right now.
Hope so. I remember talking about it early in the year, and there is something special with this group. Like it's there, and hopefully that's something that starts to really come to the forefront here over the next couple of weeks. But like you said, we did this at the beginning of January. But I just jotted down some notes.
This is where the wizard came out of.
This is where the wizard came from.
But that's really taken on a life of its own. By the way, Jess Dunham with the wizard emoji. It's
everywhere.
It's genius.
We gotta make T-shirts or something.
It's just genius. I don't know what Nick thinks about it, but how could he not like it? It's a great nickname.
Yeah. I mean, it's every time you're like, and there he is, his head's up. He's got the puck again. His head's up, and man, he just does some things. I'm like, in my head,
flying out of his hands.
He's a wizard. He's a wizard.
7 game-winning goals, man. It's most of anyone. Their second
Unbelievable.
most in the league. It's incredible.
All right, my first question. This is a question, or first comment question, but it is a question, and it's for you. We never got to it because we didn't have an episode in February, but you had long said you hated the month of February. This was before
That's why we didn't have a podcast.
Yeah, well, it's before we had
We're
gone.
not doing an episode.
It's before we kind of sputtered for a little bit, but you had long said, I hate the month, and I'll get to it when we get there, and I'll tell you why. Why do you hate February?
It's a little intangible. And actually, this February didn't feel that long. It's this weird juxtaposition of it's the shortest month of the year, but it feels like the longest.
Okay.
And the days are dark and they're cold and they're dank and there's snow. And I December. Ask my wife. I am out rolling in the snow. Snow angels. Bring on Christmas. Bring on the season. January. I don't mind January. I remember talking to Tim Army about this, and he said January is his February. For me, what February is to me, January is to Tim Army. But I don't mind January. But for whatever reason, and it may have been I think it honestly may have happened most when I was playing the North American League, and I was playing in Flint, Michigan, and I remember with my roommate at the time, North American League plays, I think it was maybe 60 some games, and you're in February, and you're in game 40 something. Playoffs don't feel like they're there yet, but also, just like we were talking about with the players, when you're playing, something hurts. Your groin hurts. Your groin's not going to get better till the end of the year. Your hip's not going to get better till the end of the year. Your shoulder, something. Everyone's got something plaguing them, and I think from then on out, and living in Flint wasn't necessarily the greatest thing in the world either at that time. Loved my billets, but the actual living in Flint part wasn't that great at the time, and I think from there on out, I went, man. It's a bad month. And the only holiday is one that, as much as my wife will probably blast me for it, there's not that much significance behind it. I like historic holidays, and Valentine's Day. I
was going to make you say it if you weren't going to say it.
It was made up to make February better. I mean, and I appreciate the effort.
Hallmark holiday.
I appreciate the effort to make it better, but at least for me, it doesn't make it better. It doesn't make it better.
I got a feeling that someday Ben's gonna come around on February. I can just see it. Guy hates the month of February so much, and then
that'll be the day.
His child's born in February. Now he loves the month. Or something like that.
That would be.
It's all.
That's maybe perfect. Then I would have no months I hate.
No,
maybe that's a good plan. That's a good plan.
All right.
It's a good hockey birthday too, February.
It is. Yeah. It is. All right. Here's the rest of what I got. I'll kind of funnel through here. Turner Ottenbright. Oh. Just what a warrior that guy is, huh?
Well,
no, I mean, I thought it was one thing watching Joe Hicketts constantly get in front of shots and block them. And correct me if I'm wrong, they're related, right?
I think
cousins in some way.
I think so.
And it must run in the family because there's some grit factor within the two of those guys, but they are not afraid to just eat a puck, take one for the team. And I've seen on the broadcast and out there, I've seen Turner block some shots that they look like they hurt.
And they're one-timers, and they're loaded. Yeah, and I mean, what the ultimate moment, as someone who didn't block shots like Turner Ottenbright did, but who blocked my fair share of shots when I played, what a moment to have Adam Beckman score that shorthanded goal in Rockford.
After
he blocks the shot.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better of a shot block than that. When you block a shot and it turns into a goal
it's like when
team.
It's like when someone breaks a stick and the equipment staff throws a stick over the edge and the guy takes it and scores a goal. It's the little things. You're not coming up on the score sheet getting the assist, but you should be getting an assist.
Otherwise, that puck's probably in the back of your net,
right.
And the game's tied instead of going 2-0 because of Adam Beckman, and that, by the way, stopped the 9-game losing streak.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that moment, I said it on the air, that was the biggest shot block of the season. And between him and Joe Hicketts, they've made oodles of them. Ryan O'Rourke's in there, too.
I'd be curious, too. I know it's not like the NHL. The NHL's tracks, shot
Oh,
blocks.
I'd love it.
I'd be curious to see where those guys stack up.
They have it. Like, our staff has it. I don't want to bug them on it on a daily basis,
Right.
which is why I don't. Like, I remember last year for a while, I would go and get face-off stats
Mm-hmm.
from Keith Paulson, and he gave them to me every time. I was like, I kind of felt annoying. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, give me the face.
Maybe when the season ends,
and I
we'll
wouldn't
see
use
where
them
we're
every
at.
night either. So I kind of felt bad bugging them, but I know they have it. But it doesn't take someone who knows Corsi ratings and all the hockey analytics in the world to know that Joe Hicketts and Turner Ottenbright probably lead this
Sure.
team in shot blocks.
All right, a couple more here that we'll try to run through. I'm sure you've seen. Everybody's probably seen it. Goalie goals are very in right now.
Let's just talk about the Central Division goaltenders.
That one night alone, we had a goalie goal with a celebration that was like, let me tell you, I think goalie goal celebrations are like big guy celebrations in football.
He got ejected
because he got in a fight after. We'll get to that.
No, Kochikov did? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right, he did.
So he celebrates. It's like watching an offensive lineman score a touchdown in football. You rarely get to see it, enjoy it. And we saw the same thing with Jesper, going down the line, just having a great time.
I thought Jesper's was tasteful, and it's not just because, like, I work for the Wild. I did think Kochikov went
it was a little over the top,
line.
but I think that's where the fight came in,
Yep,
and then that's
yep.
when he got ejected. He also got ejected the following night. However, that same,
last time that happened,
that
2 nights in a
same
row.
night, you had Milwaukee and Texas just center ice.
That was awesome.
Lights
Yeah,
down.
so
It's like
great.
Madison Square Garden. Just wasn't a great fight, but it was a goalie fight nonetheless.
Place was jammed.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
So
yeah, really cool.
Big things are in right now for goalies.
And hold on, all those guys, Askarov, first-round pick. Kochikov is the future of the Carolina Hurricanes goaltending, and Jesper Wallstedt, first-round pick, future of the Minnesota Wild. And you've got Sebastian Kosa, who's in the ECHL right now in Grand Rapids, who I don't know if he would have been involved in this crazy weekend of goalie craziness, but just let alone that it's 3 guys that. This isn't just your ECHL call-up coming up to make a splash. These are NHL caliber goaltenders that are doing all these crazy, wild things. So it's a fun time to be involved in the Central Division specifically.
And on that note, I'm gonna need Zane to score a goal.
Oh man!
I'm gonna need Zane to score a goal.
Okay.
You can fact check me, Elias Sports Bureau. Go for it. Has any team ever had 2 goalies score an empty net goal in a season? I don't think so. So I don't know. Zane,
Trying to think who Martin Brodeur's backups were. Kevin Weeks.
Anyways, next on my list. We went through a stretch where just everyone is sick. And still guys are getting sick.
The Joe Hicketts game.
Who
Unbelievable.
did they eat bad seafood somewhere? I mean, what's going on?
No, I think talking to our trainer about this, Dan Barker, he said that like there was and he has a young child. His child's not in school yet.
Stomach bug.
Stomach bug that was going around.
Kind of hitting everything.
And I think it made its way in. I don't know what player, but I think it made its way in from a player that has a kid in school. I really think that's how it got in. And then once you get on the bus and
close quarters,
and you get in rooms together. I mean, we were playing room roulette on the road. I mean, I was getting calls left and right saying, "Can we get this guy out of this room and this guy out of this room?" And then if you and I are in a room together and you're sick, I can't throw somebody else in that room knowingly with me because I've been exposed.
Yeah.
So we had so many guys with their own rooms. I'm like, some of these guys.
This is what the show is like.
Guys are going to start BSing me and saying they're sick just to get their own room here. That's what's going to start happening soon. But yeah, it was. And still, you win 3 of 4 and could have very easily won that game in Milwaukee too, the opening one. But
Pepto-Bismol sponsoring us yet? Because they should be.
Yeah, gal, and I sent you that picture of our trainer buying
we bought all the
Pepto-Bismol
and
Imodium at the rest stop somewhere in Indiana on our way back from Grand Rapids because he ran out.
It was.
It was incredible.
I woke up to that, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Joe Hicketts playing in that game and playing like 20 some minutes that night, the first Grand Rapids game, just one of the great, again, added into the legend of Joe Hicketts, who, by the way, almost won the poker tournament the other night too. But added into the legend of Joe Hicketts, where I'm sitting at a distance from him. He's eating. He looks like death. He's pale. He's sick. He's been up all night. He said he'd slept 15 minutes maybe, and he goes, "Well, you can't play in every game if you don't play in this one. I'll see you tonight. And he had like 3 bites of bread and he leaves. And then he plays in that game. It's just incredible. It's incredible.
Unreal.
Incredible, Joe Hicketts.
3 more quick ones. Obviously, we've talked about a little bit. Marco's heating up like he's playing NBA jams, NHL hits, whatever you want to refer it to. The guy's really starting to pick up steam, and that should be scary for anybody who's coming to play against this Iowa team.
Far and away the player that I've seen most take over games this year.
Yep.
On either side of the ice. I think Lucas Reichel's done it a couple of times, but when Marco's got his A game at this level, good luck.
Yeah,
good luck.
Yeah.
You're not touching him.
We can leave this in. We can cut out or not. That goal review in Milwaukee was something.
Yeah, it's the only thing I can think about on it is like I don't remember seeing if the ref waved it off on the ice.
They didn't call it a goal.
No, they just like he just kind of stopped the play.
I never saw it go.
So I don't know.
Net. But either way, last question for you. Coming up here, we've got a trip to the West Coast, Coachella Valley in San Diego, and I'm very jealous of you for being able to go on. But what are you looking forward to most outside of seeing Coachella's brand new building and all that kind of stuff? What are you looking forward to?
Well, I'm excited to see Palm Springs, but I love San Diego. And last year was my first time going there, and we didn't get much time because it's always a bummer. And this has happened to me twice in Loveland now, which I love Colorado. I love hiking. I love going to the outdoors. I love seeing, especially different styles of our country and the world in general. But so getting to Colorado, sometimes the schedule doesn't work in your favor where you go to these great cities and you get in, you play, you leave. Having an off day is a blessing. And we have technically 2 in San Diego, a full off day on a Sunday because we travel from Palm Springs to San Diego overnight, play Saturday, day off Sunday, practice day Monday. And practice day it's 2 hours of your time really is taken for, and then the rest of it, there's a little prep that you do and getting ready for games. And there is some time where I can catch up on some work on the road too. I will say I won't do as much catching up, I think, in San Diego as maybe I did in Milwaukee. But I'm really looking forward to it. On Sunday, I'm going to rent a convertible and I'm going to drive up the coast. It's going to be great. I can't wait.
Unbelievable.
Wind in my hair.
Alec Lessner, media relations manager, just walked in, and he is dumbfounded.
Yeah, it's going to be
Can't believe
awesome.
it. I mean, I'm just jealous. I remember going down there. We were in playoffs in San Jose, and being able to just on those days where you don't have anything going on, being able to just head down to Mission Beach, Pacific Beach, and you can rent bikes, you can rent rollerblades, whatever, or scooters, just kind of go up and down the boardwalk. It's great.
I'm looking forward to getting to see it more in its entirety because I only really got
go to the zoo. The zoo in San Diego.
I only got an evening
top
there,
notch too.
So,
that
whole La Jolla area is just incredible,
Yep.
and the cliffs and it's
they got some sea lions there. It's cool. All right, we've babbled.
Let's land the plane.
Let's give it a Marco. Let's give it a Marco.
Most people have fast forwarded through this part anyway to get to Marco. You. So without any further ado, the 9th overall selection of the Minnesota Wild in 2020 is Marco Rossi, not Rossi. Welcome back to Period 2 here on Ride the Bus. This is episode 17, and it's great to be joined by one of the top prospects in the Minnesota Wild organization and one heck of a guy, too. Marco Rossi's with us here today, and we're going to get to the name change almost right off the top. But, Marco, it's great to be with you here today. Thanks so much for parking some time for us. I know how busy your guys' schedule is, so to have you here with us is just great. I know Joey and I have really been looking forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Took a little while to get us here.
Ooh,
right?
Joey, yeah, okay.
Right? Took a little while.
Yeah, Joey has a little bit of a bone to pick.
Are you good? You comfortable? Is it too warm in here? Do you need water? I mean, what can we do to make the experience better? Are we good? Everything ready to go?
Today it's perfect.
All right, then we're good.
We did have some scheduling. We went back and forth, but I can attest to the schedule that these guys are on. And Marco had some reasoning for us moving the podcast back a little bit.
All in good fun.
You deserve some good barbs, and I'm going to get to that too. But Marco, for starters, this is Riding the Bus. The whole thought is we want listeners to be here and feel like they're on the bus with you. So tell us a great bus story, and that could be whether during your time in the OHL in Ottawa or here with the Iowa Wild or elsewhere. Any great bus stories that come to mind in the life of Marco Rossi so far?
So usually I'm more like the quiet guy on the bus. Like I like to watch my movies or maybe play some games, but not too many times because I like my time just to chill and stuff. But I remember in Ottawa when I played in the OHL, you always like when guys were sleeping and guys were had their mouth open We were always like putting some stuff in there, so that was always fun. So nobody tried to sleep at that time. So
So this is actually a great segue into a question for you, and I'm sure Joey had it too. Joey, you're smirking over there. We're going to ask the same question. You go ahead.
Probably,
and ask it.
yeah. I mean, we heard from some pretty reliable sources that you are quite the prankster in the locker room.
And this confirms that. That story
Yeah,
you just told.
this definitely confirms it. So I guess one of my biggest questions is, what do you think the best prank is that you've pulled so far this season within the locker room?
this year didn't do too much, to be honest, because
being modest.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
believe him. This is like I don't want anybody to know it's me. It's still a mystery.
no, usually when I do something, I don't really tell anyone who did it, and sometimes they don't really know who it was the whole day or like the next few weeks, or they still don't know it sometimes. So, but I just do little stuff, maybe like something with the skates or taping the stick wrong, like for the other one, because I know that's not how they want it, or just with clear tape, like just like little things, so nothing stupid.
I had heard a story about some sticks and Joseph Cramarosa. Did you tape up some of his sticks one day?
Yeah, I remember.
Going after a veteran too. I love that.
Yeah, I think it was, we went to Recplex, so we always have to pack our bags, and it's kind of sometimes busy after the meeting because we have to pack it and then we have to go right away. So you don't have that much time, and I just knew like Cram was always like, sometimes lazy after the meeting, and then he has to hurry up and stuff. So then I knew, okay, I can get him now with the sticks, because I think he will be too tired then over there at the rink. Or he doesn't even notice it. So I was just like taping his stick with the clear tape. So I think he noticed it, but yeah, I tried it.
Do you think he knew it was you, or is this the official unveiling, if he were to somehow hear this, that day it was Marco Rossi who was behind the taping of the stick?
I think he knew it was
Think
me,
he knew?
because he came up in practice and was like, was it you? And I was like, maybe.
And Marco, the one thing I noticed early on, and you did it more last year. Now, and one thing I want to get to with you is you have a very quick wit. Like your comebacks, especially this year. Last year, I think you kind of would just give that look. You'd kind of smirk. There's the Marco Rossi smirk, and that wasn't it right there for people watching, but it's a great smirk when you know you've kind of got somebody. But this year, I've heard it on a few occasions. When the banter starts happening, last year you didn't dive into it as much. This year, you're right there, and you have a quick comeback, which is impressive considering that German is your native tongue, not English. But what's in a good comeback? What do you think makes a great comeback when someone's coming at you with something?
I think like for me it's also fun, like when somebody does it. So for me it's just like try to be relaxed, and I learned from last year, so I have more experience, so I know what to do now.
I've been told that you didn't speak until you were 6, and then all of a sudden you were talking, and you were talking a lot. Do you remember that growing up, being an Austrian kid? Do you remember? It's 6 years old, is a long time ago. I know, well, even longer for Joey and I than it is for you. But do you remember having that click in your mind where all of a sudden you were Marco Rossi, the speaker, not Marco Rossi, the watcher? Because I've seen both happen in the locker room, where you can sit and listen sometimes. You're very observant, but also you can bring it back too with some talking too.
I can't remember, to be honest, that I didn't like really talk. I just know it like from my parents. They always told me that I haven't like talked like till I was 6, because I don't know why, to be honest. I was just running around and stuff, but so yeah.
You were sitting and watching. I've always said that about you. You see a lot. You watch a lot, and it's the reason why I think you wear a letter on your sweater on this team, because you see a lot of things in the room. You understand the way the locker room works, even though you're just a young hockey player in the second pro season in North America here. But I want to go back to Austria. I want to go back to growing up. Your father, Michael, was a professional hockey player. You and I have talked about the importance that he played in your life, and I'm always curious when I talk to people who aren't from either Minnesota, where I'm from, or Boston, where Joey's from, or Canada, where we know the major junior route, even though you ended up taking it. But youth hockey, what is youth hockey like in Austria? Was it a lot of travel? Did you have to travel great distances to play? Was there a lot of ice available? Kind of walk us through growing up, being a youngster, putting on skates in Austria.
Okay, it can take a long time now to talk about it.
We
but
got time, Marco. That's the best part about a podcast. Take some time.
Yeah, so growing up, it's not that hard, because when you're younger, you just play with your guys, and they're like with your age group or a couple years older. And I think when you're young, it doesn't really matter, like, like where you are playing, like what team for. So for me, it was important to be like around like just about my kids' age, and just to have fun. But Austria is not like really great with development and like with the younger kids. So I played there till I was 10, and then with 10, I went to Switzerland because I live on the Swiss border, and that's just like 5-10 minutes away. So for me, it was a easy decision to do that because in Switzerland with that age, it was just easier because you have like better players, the practice was better, you have more competition, and I think that's really good like for a young guy because you need that competition. If you never have like competition, then it will be really hard for you to just to get better because if you're always the best, then it's not fun probably, and you don't really improve a lot. So with 10, I went there to a smaller club for like 2 or 3 years, and then after with 13, I went to Zurich, and then all the big. I would say like it was really hard time at that point because 3 years, me and my dad, we always drove to Zurich and back like for a day.
Wow.
It always looked like I woke up like in the morning, probably like at 5:36, and then I went to school, and I was in school like till 4 p.m. And then after, we drove right away to Zurich. I had practice there, and then I was probably done with the practice, probably like 10ish. And then by the time I was back at home, we had to drive back, and then it was like midnight, 12.
Ow.
And
What a grind.
yeah, and yeah, so it was midnight, and sometimes I had to learn, or I did learn on the car. So
So
and then
you were studying in the car on the way home sometimes.
I had to because
Wow. Yeah.
it's or at home then, but you know it's midnight and you're really tired and you want to go to bed, and yeah, so sometimes my mom or my dad, they cooked like the meal before, so when I come home the food is already prepared for me, and then me or my dad, so sometimes I was eating and then my dad took care of my equipment, just like laundry and stuff. So then by the time I was in bed, it was like 12:30, 1ish, and then next day the same thing again.
I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we did that like for 3 years, and for me it was hard, but the harder part was for my dad, obviously, because he has to drive, and you could see it like at the steering wheel, like all his sweat in it, and now I really like realize it way more when I look back, how much he did for me and my whole family did for me, and so yeah, it wasn't a really easy time, but I think these are little things that just makes me stronger. And I always knew, like, since I'm a small kid, I want to be a hockey player one day. So I knew you have to sacrifice a lot of things because you have to sacrifice your friends, your family, and a lot of things. So I knew I have to do that if I want to come far in hockey. So there's no other choice. So yeah.
It's funny when he was telling that story. That's an incredible story. And the one thing that struck me is you're always told, and I'm told this in broadcasting too, if you think you're working hard, there's always someone working harder.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's the example of someone working harder, right?
Yeah.
Driving an hour and a half to get to a place where you feel you're at that competitive level. That's an astounding story, Marco, and it actually makes sense why you are where you are now. And I think if you talk to players that get to this level, that are first-round picks, that have played in the National Hockey League, that are getting set to play in the National Hockey League, I think we'd maybe be surprised at how many stories we hear that are
A
like
lot
that.
of sacrifices like that.
Sacrifice, right? And that's an incredible testament to where you've gotten to and where you're headed. When did it hit you, Marco? I love to ask this question, too, with guys that are at the peak of their profession, and you're well on your way there. When did it hit you, I've worked so hard, yes. I've sacrificed, yes. But just because you work hard and sacrifice doesn't mean you're going to get to wear an NHL jersey someday. Was there a moment or a tournament or somewhere where you went, okay, I think I actually have a shot at this?
It's tough to say like when it happened. I think it's always like a belief in you, like since a small kid, that you want to be there one day, and with the time you have like more trust in yourself, and when you have good games and when you compare to other guys, then you think like, okay, yeah, maybe I might be there one day, but you still know it's gonna be a lot of work to do. And I think when I played my first pro game when I was 15, then I really like kind of realized, okay, I can come far with hockey, because you get more attention obviously when you play with 15 your first pro game, and more people talk about you, but it's not easy with 15 to avoid like all the attention on you sometimes. So you just try to focus and try to work. And then when I went to the OHL, I mean, I will always realize it more. And but for me, it's like I was never like okay, now it's done. So for me, I was always like I have to keep going. And yeah.
1 second. We'll edit this. This is going to make you a little bit louder.
Okay.
Perfect. Just like that. Or we could leave it in, too. It might be kind of fun to leave it in. We'll see what happens. So I did get another story from your father, I'm going to go ahead and divulge my source as much as journalists shouldn't do that, because I thought when he was in town recently, no better to get dirt on Marco Rossi than Michael Rossi. And he told me that at one point you were 10 years old playing with a U16 Finnish team, and it took you 2 to 3 practices to realize that you were playing against people that were 6 years older than you. Is that true?
Yeah, it was true. I remember when I was there, I had a practice there, and I thought they were like maybe 2 years older than me or something. And because they were so big and really old, and some guys already had like the first beer and stuff, and so I asked my dad, are they really just 2 years older than me? And I was like, no, they're actually older. So I think it was just like for my mindset, because if you have told me like before they were older, like much older, maybe I might be scared before the practice. But it's more mental, I think.
and to that point, Marco, like you really do play a fearless game. And I was thinking about it in your most recent performance. This will come out after a few games this weekend against the Moose, but in Milwaukee at 3-point night. That's a heavy team. You and I have talked about the heaviness that Milwaukee plays with, and we've done some pregame interviews. Yet there's Marco Rossi right in the thick of things, taking cross checks, getting taken down by guys that are 6'7". You do play with that fearless mentality that maybe you learned a little bit playing against some of those bigger and older guys when you were younger, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can't be scared to play, because when you're scared, then you have nothing to do on the ice. So you have to have that grit and just a mentality that doesn't matter how big the other guy is, you can go through him too. So yeah.
I think it helps because you never know what role you're going to find yourself in. Your role down here in Iowa could be completely different than the role you're expected to be when you're in Minnesota. So, you might not be the, quarterbacking a power play like sometimes you might do here, but when you're up in Minnesota, they're looking for that grit and that tenacity. You're trying to, get under people's skin a bit, as Jesper put it, to, be a rat to some degree, but not in that, not like the dirty,
not
cheap sense of way, but really getting under people's skin and really being that person that, well, I hate playing against this guy because it's incredibly difficult every single time.
I've heard that term you've been called that by 2 different teammates now. Jesper and Mitchell Chafee said you play like a rat, and they meant it as a good thing because you're in there and it's an extra whack here, it's an extra little pull on the skate here. Do you take that with pride, playing that way and trying to get under other opponents' skins?
Yeah, I mean, I've always played like that. I mean, maybe because of my dad, he was maybe a more dirty player. So I looked at little things about him, what he did. So I don't know, I just always did it, and it's just a part of my game to get under the skin sometimes about the other guys. So it's just my style, how I play.
You can ask Joey how much I like players that play like that, because he always comments on
That's the way that Ben likes to play. Ben likes to do that too. Ben's not afraid to mix it up.
That's true, at a much lower level.
Yeah, that's true. When I want to talk quickly about draft day for you, because draft day for you was during COVID, right? And normally during the draft, you get all the prospects together and everybody's in an arena somewhere, and there's walking on the stage and this and that. You didn't have that experience. Like, what was draft day like for you, from really start to finish, from getting the phone call that you were being drafted to just the experience of that wait?
First of all, it was a really long day, because for us Europeans it was midnight. It was like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. So we had to stay awake for that. And I mean, I had all my family around me. My agent was there, so a lot of people, my old friends. So there was one thing that was nice, because like my Austrian people could have seen it. Obviously it's different because you're not on the stage and you don't really have that experience. But yeah, it was nice to be around the family and around my friends, and so it was nice.
Did you know that, and we asked the same thing to Jesper and the guys we've had on, did you know that Minnesota was interested? Did you know that this was going to be where you ended up? Where did you have conversations with them? What was that process like?
Not really, to be honest, because I just had like 2 meetings, I think, with them, or 3 meetings. So with the other teams, I had a little bit more meetings. So, but before, you don't really know who's going to draft you. Maybe you have like some teams you think, they could be like a team, or Yeah, but to be honest, I told my family and friends before that doesn't matter who drafts me, it's gonna be a special night, and we're really looking forward for it.
That's a similar. We've heard that similar thing where it's not a lot of conversations with the guys who end up getting picked. I wonder if that's just
Maybe that's
tactical
how,
or yeah.
Maybe that's how Bill Guerin does it. Maybe
Yeah.
that's his tactic. I don't know. We should have asked him when we had him on. We didn't do our homework on
Next
that
time
one. Yeah.
we'll try and get him back on to
Next
a summer
time,
follow-up.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
make him a recurring
By
guest.
the way, Marco was telling us, Jesper told us you didn't really talk to him before you drafted him, yet you love these guys. So why? I wanted to ask about Thomas Vanek. As someone who you watched him more than me, although I watched him a lot because I was growing up when he came into the University of Minnesota, which was my college love growing up. That was the team that everybody growing up in the Minneapolis suburbs wanted to play for. So when he came onto the scene, he actually, I think, really transformed college hockey at a time. He was a different player than what college hockey had seen before. I can vividly remember him in the national championship game circling the zone with the puck, and no one could touch him. And this is the national championship game, and I think he might have been a freshman or a sophomore at the time. He's a big idol of yours. Obviously, Austrian helps, but what about his game, let alone the fact that he's from the same country as you, has you idolizing him so much? And I know you've met him, too, and you've had some conversations with him as well.
I mean, a lot. I mean, as a kid, you always looked up to him because he was the only Austrian player at that time. And for an Austrian hockey player, you look up to him, and it's your idol. Doesn't matter if you're a D or forward or a goalie, you look up to him because that's like a motivation you had as a kid. Because when you see like an Austrian guy there, then you have like more belief in yourself too. Yeah, I might be there too one day. And there was like a kind of like a motivation for us too, for us Austrians. So yeah, and I've met him couple times now, and I mean he's a really good person. Yeah, I can't just say good stuff about him.
And you've worn the same logo that he wore at one point. I mean, that did that ever dawn on you? You're sitting here going like, I'm wearing the same jersey Thomas Vanek wore at one point.
Yeah, it was crazy because when I got drafted, he was like texting me, and he was like, "Welcome to Minnesota, and if you need anything, I'm here too." And so it was really nice.
Obviously, someone that Minnesota means a lot to Thomas Vanek, going to college there, playing with the Wild for a stint. Looking at right now, looking at where you're at, I remember when you came down in November from the National Hockey League, and again, we're not going to sugarcoat it. That was a hard conversation that I'm sure you had to have with Bill Guerin at the time, but it was amazing to me to watch that player compared to the player I watched set a single season rookie record in scoring, let alone your first year here with Iowa. And you said right away when we interviewed you, like, you may have had the conversation with Bill last night, and then I was barking down your door saying, "Hey, Marco, come on the broadcast." Like, thank you for doing that, by the way. But you said, "I'm here to demand the puck." Tell us more about what demanding the puck is, because ever since then, I've seen a lot of Marco Rossi demanding the puck.
Yeah, I mean, when you get sent down, you just wanna improve your whole game. You just wanna work more on it, and I think I just got more hungrier, to be honest, because once you have been up there, you know how it is up there, and you wanna go back up there. So but I was positive. So I knew what I have to do to go back up, and I'm just like working on my game, and I'm really happy how I'm playing right now. So I play a lot of minutes, and I demand the puck a lot. Just want to make more plays, and yeah, just get better.
What have you learned about yourself in this process? This is hard. You're so close. You're so close. Yet you still have to play the waiting game. What have you learned about yourself and how you've had to handle this? And what would you communicate to others that are in a spot like this, and whether it's in hockey or elsewhere, where you're having to wait, but you're having to know that you're so close, but it's still undetermined when that moment could be when you officially do become an NHLer full time?
To have patience is the most important thing. And don't think too much about it, because if you think about it, you just get crazy about it. You have to stay patient and just like really listen to yourself and know what you have to do to work on, and don't panic or anything. I mean, I'm still really young, so there's nothing to panic or to think too much about it. I mean, the most important thing is to have fun, and as long as you have fun, then I think everything goes in your way one day. So for me, it's just like to keep going and have fun.
I was going to say, we're talking about Minnesota a little bit, and I think one thing that I know our fans down here would love to get some insight on is what's the dynamic like up there within the locker room? You know, we ask a lot of our guys down here, you know, who's the prankster, who's the loud one, who's the quiet one. But I think it'd be cool to hear from you when your time when you were up there, you know, who's the jokester in the locker room in Minnesota? Who is the really, really loud one? You know, who are some of those people? So,
and of the people we've interviewed, you were there the longest. Like
Yeah.
Sammy Walker, Adam Beckman, they've not been there as long as you've been there. So yeah, you would have a heartbeat. Again, you know the room, you have the heartbeat on the room.
So who would you say? I got 4 big ones. Who's the biggest jokester on the team? Well, we know apparently you're taking that title down here. So who's taking it in Minnesota?
Jokes is like a prankster too.
Yeah.
Prankster, it could be. I guess it's kind of
I would
twofold.
say so.
Who's the prankster, and then
Okay.
who's just the guy who's just constantly making everybody laugh?
I would say prankster is obviously Flower. I mean, you always seen it. Like he always thinks about it, what he wants to do. So I would say him. Jokester. There are a lot of really funny guys, to be honest, because they're like always like different groups. Obviously, like you have the younger guys. They're always funny. Like to stay around them. Then you have like kind of the veterans, and I think it's not many teams you see that it's like such a good chemistry, to be honest. And so it's hard to pick one guy, to be honest.
Did Flower play any pranks on you while you were up there?
Not yet.
All right. Who's the loudest one in the locker room? We know who the answer is. Who do you think the loudest one in the locker room is here in Iowa?
Beckman.
Yeah, that's unanimous.
Yeah.
Unanimous. Who's the loud one up in Minnesota?
Maybe Felinio, Moose. It's loud. Dumbo.
All right.
So, yeah.
Who's the quietest one in the locker room?
I would say when I was up there was Sam Steele. Yeah, he was kind of one of the quiet guys.
Could be a new guy too, trying to get a little bit more comfortable
Yeah.
with his surroundings. And then, who's the best dressed? Who brings their A game
That's a
when
great
they're coming in
question.
on game day?
I would just say Dumbo too, because of his suits all the time. I like them, so I think him.
Good to know.
It doesn't
There's
surprise me
a
at
little
all.
bit of insight there on the.
That
Minnesota
guy's
locker room
got
dynamic.
a good brand going. Matt
Oh,
Dumbo's
yeah.
got a good brand
Mm.
going. That doesn't surprise me at all. Anybody that knows you, Marco, knew you by Rossi at one point. We got to get down to it now. Because I was calling you by the wrong name for a whole year.
Year and a half.
Year and a half, Marco. And I remember it was right here in this room when you came here and we met and I asked you. And I vividly remember now that this has come out and you came to me. And first off, I should tell the story. We were talking. I don't forget who I was even talking with. I think it was a player that maybe was on a PTO in Texas and making sure I get pronunciations right. And you're so polite, Marco. And you came over, hey, Ben, would you mind? And you politely asked, like, it's Rossi. And then you even said, it's Rossi. And I said, Marco, I'm never going to get the R roll. Like, can you imagine? Rossi on the left wall. Rossi. Like, I would drive myself berserk. But we've changed it since. And I told you in Texas, I said, this is going to blow people's minds. And, like, the tweets and the things that
I think I
night,
texted you immediately
Oh, it was
because I
unbelievable.
missed the story leading in at the beginning of the broadcast. I was probably dealing with my dog or something, and then I just started hearing Rossi, and every once in a while you'd mix in Rossi because you hadn't picked up, like you hadn't had
I
it fully
think
yet,
it maybe
and
just
you
like
still
just
do.
recently, like I got through 2 games in a row where I've not said Rossi.
And I
so.
texted you. I was like, what are we doing here? Like, what is happening? And then we had a watch party a couple nights later, and everybody's asking about it there. Like, where did this come from? So yeah, it took off.
So what took you so long?
Nothing, to be honest. All my friends were like,
It was a prank. You
Yeah,
was
it's a
pranking
prank.
me this whole time.
Good one. Got us.
no. Actually, like some guys from back home, they were like asking me, like, do they know like really how to pronounce your name? And I was like, yeah, but I don't know if I can, like, if they can change it during the year or something. So so that's why I asked you. So yeah, it's pronounced Rossi. But I know for you guys it might be hard during like the games and stuff. So you guys can say it however you want it.
Yeah, there's no rules on what we can and cannot call it we can say it however we need to.
That's true.
So.
And and maybe someday, maybe Joe O'Donnell will take on the rolling R. I don't know if he'll take that on, but I'm standing put. I'm not taking on the rolling R. Just sounds
one too many steps.
One too many. One too. Yeah. Maybe next. Yeah. Maybe next year, if I get a chance to do like a preseason game or something up there during the Tom Curvers Memorial Showcase at the prospect camp or something like that, or if I get a chance to see you again, maybe I'll try to take on the R role. But for now, Rossi is what it's going to be.
Take broadcasting, make it fancy.
Oh my gosh.
Say Rossi's name and Rossi's name. I just did it too.
See?
Rossi's name in cursive. That basically is what that is.
Marco, to finish for me, this has been great, and I knew it would be. It was so funny. One thing, we didn't have this podcast last year, but two, it's been so fun to watch you come out of your shell. And not that you were awkward last year, but you were much more reserved. This year, you're in every conversation. You and I have had thousands of more words this year than we did last year. It's been really fun to get to know you as the player, or as the person, not just the player, because we all love the player. The person's awesome too. But you are such a fierce competitor, and seeing you in this setting, people probably wouldn't get that because, again, you're polite and you're courteous and you're kind. But I was told that you almost broke a ping pong table one time after you lost a table tennis match to your father. Is that true?
Yeah, really
It's so casual.
Yeah.
That happened. Yeah.
No, I'm really competitive. Like, you can ask my friends or even my girlfriend. She knows how competitive I am too. So I mean, doesn't matter what we're playing, even just card games or anything. I like to win, so that's one thing in my DNA.
That'll take you a long way in life.
Yeah. I think everybody likes to win. That's another unanimous thing that we've uncovered, and just talking with everybody down here. Everybody's got that same drive. So that's a big chemical makeup. My last one is more just about having been here in Iowa now about a year and a half, 2 years almost for you being down here. What are some of your favorite places in the area? What are some of your favorite places to eat, hang out? Where do you like to go?
For eating, I like the sushi place. It's called, I think, Hana in West Des Moines.
I don't think I've been there.
Yeah, it's a
Hana.
sushi place. That's really good. I like to go to a Thai restaurant. It's called, I don't know.
Some of those Thai restaurants, you know where they are, right? You know where they
exactly.
are. Yeah, I
went
have a
there
couple like that too.
So many times. It's great that I don't know the name of it.
Check your bank statement.
Yeah. So yeah, and sports-wise, I think I like to go downtown, just like at the Capitol. It's really nice. And West Des Moines, like to go for a walk. I mean, there's some nice neighborhoods, and it's really peaceful there, so it's nice.
All right, to finish, now is your chance. We had Jesper on. We asked him about you. Now's your chance. Jesper Wallstedt, you guys have become fast friends. I would love to get a situation where you guys were doing something where there was a winner and a loser, because I think that could be an absolute war between two guys that just quite simply won't accept losing. So tell us about Jesper, because it seems like you guys are on track to be on the same team for a very long time.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, me and Jesper, even Simon, we came along really well since day one. And we just have like a really good chemistry together. It's funny that you just bring up Jesper, because today before practice he told me, "You're not gonna score on me." So
did you score on him?
Yeah. So it's always fun that we always like make jokes like that. I think it's also like a little like compete level in practice too, because when I shoot, I try to score and he tries to save it, and it's just fun. I mean, like, we try to get under the skin of each other, and so yeah, it's like.
Did you catch the other day the Becoming Wild segment comes out, and they follow the team on the trip to Grand Rapids, and there's a mic'd up piece with Jesper from Morning Skate, and at one point, I don't know if it's right before or right after you come down, maybe you score a goal, and he says, "Oh, I don't know if you saw that. Marco wants to be the star of the show here," is what he said.
Did he?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
So you have to check that one out.
Okay.
But yeah, he does say you like to, sometimes shoot his feet and get under his skin a little bit. So that's is that your go-to with him?
Yeah, one thing. One thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, one thing. Okay, well, we're not going to not follow up on that. You got to give us a few others, Marco.
Anything like with the puck to the skates. I like to do that all the time to piss him off a little bit, and yeah, even like with shooting, he doesn't like when I go all the time 5-4 sometimes, because he doesn't like it. Even like before the game in Sewer when he plays soccer, sometimes they go after him and then he's pissed. So Yeah, just little things, but it's all fun.
Does that frequently come down to, because I'd imagine you're fantastic with a soccer ball or a football, as you would call it. Same with Jesper and Simon. Europeans are notoriously the best super ball players. That was the case in the teams I played on. Is it usually, are you one of the finalists usually in that game, or are there some other players that typically wind up at the end too?
Petey is really good too.
Nick Patan, yeah.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all. When
Yeah.
it comes to skill stuff, that's just
Nick Patan.
The wizard.
yeah.
He's the wizard.
Folks is good, and a couple older guys, but they always have more lives, you know. Like when you kick him out, they say no, that doesn't count, or it's
They
a
play the
bad.
seniority
guys.
card. Yeah. All
You know.
right.
So for the rookies or for the younger guys, it's always tough to play it, you know. But yeah, we have to learn.
Marco, let's finish with this. Why should people bet on Marco Rossi to be a National Hockey League player? Why are you betting on Marco Rossi to be a National Hockey League player?
Because I can play there, and I know how good I am, and I've proven it too, and so yeah, I know how good I am, and so yeah.
I'm a believer.
Belief in
Not
yourself.
just saying
Love
that because I wear the logo.
We
That's
see
for
it on a
sure.
nightly
Yeah, we
basis.
do.
It's
We
there.
do. Marco, this has been so much fun. Anything we missed that you want to get to?
Sorry, what did you say?
Anything we missed that you want to get to?
No.
No. Thanks so much, pal. This has been great.
Thank you.
So that was Marco Rossi. Pretty great conversation with him. Not too much else really needs to be said. He's as humble as they come, and obviously, as he should be, a true believer in himself that he has what it takes to play at the highest level, and is confident that he will play. And I think we both are too.
I really am. And when you endorse players here, I think people might listen and say, well, he's wearing the logo. They pay they pay his meal ticket, but we could still have Marco on and have a great conversation and not have asked him what we asked him about that. And he's in a hard spot where if you go on Twitter, I mean, there's naysayers and there's people, well, and bust and this and bust that. And I tell you what, like watching him as much as I've watched him and seeing the growth, and specifically the growth in areas that he didn't excel in the year ago. Like this guy, that story of him and his father driving an hour and a half every night and getting home at midnight to study after going to Switzerland to play. I mean, that's who he is. Like this is a guy that he's got all the talent in the world. I mean, this is a wonderfully talented hockey player and a wonderfully intelligent hockey player. That's probably his greatest asset.
Yeah.
But his drive, he's on the bus, he's watching highlights, he's watching plays, he's watching things from that happened in the National Hockey League that night. Other guys are playing cards, and that's not, and all due respect to those guys too, but he has one thing on his mind, and that's getting to the National Hockey League. And like I said in the podcast, when you're told that if you think you're working hard and there's someone out there working harder, he's that guy that's out there working harder. He is. Like, that's how he operates. He's the first one on the ice in practice. He's the last one off. I'm not exaggerating when I say this.
He talked about it. I mean, we talked about there are not many pro hockey players who are coming out of Austria. You have to work harder to come out of these smaller nations where you don't have as many eyes on you, and he's proving that. So it's great to see, great conversation, and as much as I would love to have him down here for a lot longer,
he will
deserves to be up in the show, and he deserves to get that.
And I don't know what kind of an NHL player he's going to become. I don't know if he's going to be a perennial all-star. But he's going to play in the NHL, and I think he's going to play in the NHL for a long time. I really do. I really do.
A couple other things I really just wanted to touch on. It's been a while since we made a podcast bet, so we do need something like that. I know we're not going to sit here and try to brainstorm over it, but if there's anybody out there who's got something that we can, put a friendly little wager on, something that we want to be kind of involved in to some degree, and then figuring out what our punishment's going to be. So we're due for one of those coming up here towards the end of the year. Biggest things on my end as doing my job, director of marketing, right? I do want to talk about this Russell Dickerson concert. So this episode is going to come out on Tuesday. We're recording this the day before the concert.
It's amazing I was able to scrape you out of the marketing office the day before the biggest marketing event of the year for the Iowa Wild. Here you are. Commitment to the pod.
It's one of those things. It's like one of those knock on wood things. Like if we feel really good about it, and as we should be, it's projecting to be one of, if not the biggest nights that the Iowa Wild have ever had, from an attendance standpoint, from how many tickets are out, all that good stuff. I mean, I'm so excited for it. I've never been here for a concert night, so I'm excited to see it. But just the amount of work that's been put in behind the scenes, our marketing team has hammered it. Like everybody's hitting home runs, grand slams. I mean, like Marquise sitting in front of me, creating the videos to help us get promoted. Jess down him on social, hammering all, just crushing people with, which it might be a lot at times, but telling people about
That's
the concert.
marketing, though, man.
That's what
Get
you
in
got to
front
do.
of
And same
people.
thing on
Yeah,
emails
yeah.
and everything we're running in game and just all the planning behind the scenes. There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm really excited for it. It's going to be an awesome night. So for those people, looking back on it now that you're listening to this Tuesday, hopefully if you were here for it, it was an unforgettable night for you as well, and hopefully leads us into what should be a fun playoff run and a fun push there. So we've also got some other fun stuff happening in March. Later on in the month, we have our Joe Hickett's Canadian tuxedo bobblehead, which
wait.
he is. Story about Joe Hickett's. We had our media day, which we kind of split into two parts. We had a second media day in January where we kind of covered the second half of the year. And media day can be, it's not a pain for the guys, but it's just like, it gets repetitive and it's a long day, right?
Yep.
So, making sure guys hit every room they've got to go to, and Joe, he'll give you some flack every now and then and be like, oh, I already did this and he didn't do it, or I don't really want to do this one, and you make him do it. But then we told him there was one room, we're like, hey, your bobblehead's in there if you want to go see it. He goes, we're like, but we're not going to show it to you until you hit some of these other spots. And sure enough, starts knocking out the rooms. And he goes and he sees the bobblehead, and I'm sure we'll share his reaction somewhere. But he enjoyed it. The guys enjoyed it, and so it's just Joe Hickett's cowboy hat, full denim tuxedo. So I'm excited to give that one out to the fans.
I mean, again, you brought up the Elias Sports Bureau earlier on our podcast. Can we get a check if there's ever been a Canadian tuxedo bobblehead done of a professional athlete before? I mean,
I don't know if there's been a bobblehead done. I know Milwaukee did do Canadian tuxedo
jerseys. I've seen
which
those.
were
Those
really
were
cool.
great.
Something
Those were
that I
great.
just kicking myself that I didn't think of sooner, but that would have been cool to obviously do for this night.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've ever had the bobblehead.
way to go, Joey.
Yeah. God, get me out of here. So yeah, I don't know if we've ever had that, but that'll be an exciting night. And then the following day, we've got this Iowa Grown Night, which is really our celebration of 10 years here in Des Moines and our commitment and everything like that. We're gonna have specialty jerseys. The jerseys we're gonna start teasing them here soon, but they were designed by a local artist, Curtis Portinga, and he really, I mean, I don't want to give it away, but did a fantastic job at really taking the Iowa brand, the Minnesota brand, and really connecting it to, we are Iowa's team. We are here in Des Moines. So there's a lot of fun little details, and we'll have a graphic coming out that kind of showcases all the fun little pieces on the jersey. But I think I've only been here 2 years, but I think these are going to be some of the coolest jerseys that we've ever had from what I've seen from start to finish. And I would think these are ones that people are going to absolutely go crazy for. So I'm excited to roll those out. That's going to be an awesome day to wear those. And then we get into April. You got Pucks and Paws. You got Beach Day, Fan Appreciation Night, and then playoffs.
God, it's
hopefully.
crazy. It's crazy that we're even here. It really, once you get past February, it just goes so fast, doesn't it?
Quick. Yes, it does. Yes,
That
it does.
confounding month of February.
Yeah, the one that Ben is
Yeah.
soon to love so much.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I'm excited to see those jerseys. I don't know anything. I mean, I know the theme, but
Have I shown you the jerseys?
No, you haven't shown me anything yet.
Here's the deal. You're going to see Ben's instant reaction to
Okay.
the jersey here. I'm going to show him.
This is a
You're not
YouTube
gonna see it.
exclusive.
I'm
A
going to show
YouTube exclusive.
Ben.
Okay.
This is something that I think you're going to enjoy. And we'll just cut this part out while I'm looking for it. All right. So here's what we are looking at for our.
Okay, so I'll look away, and then they'll get the official. Okay, here's the look. Tell me when I'm ready.
Ready. Don't fake it.
Yeah, those are really legit. Wow.
I'll show you some of my favorite details here. Right here. I think that's a pretty cool
And I'm
patch to
sure
have
there's
on there. Which I won't get into too much detail because I don't want to reveal anything.
I think I get it. Again, I'm not a native Iowan. Yeah, that to me, yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
I think people are going to go nuts over it.
Those are 2 thumbs way up from this
Yeah.
guy.
So
wow. Great way to end the show.
Yeah.
That's a great teaser. Wow, those are great jerseys. Oh, wow. It's all,
it's all coming together.
Yeah, it's all coming together.
Cool.
Okay.
Good stuff.
We miss anything?
We just got to thank everybody, and then we can get out of here and enjoy the rest of the day before a busy, busy weekend.
Yes. Well, for starters, Jeremy Core and Executive Podcast Solutions for helping us get this podcast out there so all of you can tune into it. A big thank you to them for being a partner of our show. Also to Explore Minnesota and to Marquise Jones for editing our YouTube side of the podcast. So to Marco Rossi for a great chat and for changing his name to give us something to talk about. Also, Joey Goldstein, always a pleasure. I'm Ben Giselson. Thanks so much to you as well for tuning in and for being fans of the show. We always appreciate it. We appreciate the love, and the love comes right back out to you. This has been episode 17 of Ridin' the Bus, the official Iowa Wild podcast. And as always, Mr. Goldstein.
2 honks for the win.